What is freedom according to you? How free you really are? This is something which we need to ponder upon. And I have a quotation for all of you which will help you to introspect, to understand about freedom. I welcome all of you. A very good morning to all of you friends. I am Kuber Singh, your educator for essay writing, IR and internal security. And I am doing once again what I do the best, is discussing quotations with you. Quotation is in front of you. Freedom is what you do with what's been done to you. A beautiful and powerful quotation by the existential philosopher Jean-Paul Sartre. Now, I always begin my lecture of the quotation with deconstructing and interpreting the topic. In essay writing, you want to score more marks? Everybody wants to score more than 140 marks. You need to do certain things very smartly in order to score 140 marks out of 250. अगर आपने essay writing में अपना score maximize करना है. So you're at the right place at the right time. Continue watching the Essay Made Easy series on the YouTube channel of this platform, and therefore this will help you enrich a lot of content, a lot of examples in the form of anecdotes, examples in the form of powerful personalities, which will help you to write your essay as well. इंट्रोडक्शन में तो ये कोटेशन किसने कहा है उसके बारे हम डिस्कस करेंगे. और जॉन पॉल सार्त्रे, he is offering a nuanced view of existential freedom and personal agency. Now सार्त्रे ये कहते हैं कि हमारी जिंदगी में, in our lifetime, it will not be always that you will have circumstances under your control. There will be circumstances which would be beyond your control. Your upbringing is not in your control. Your social conditions is not in your control. Somebody is born in Germany, somebody is born in UP, somebody is born in Mexico, somebody is born in America, somebody is born in Delhi. That is not in your control. Now, somebody is talkative, somebody is not very talkative, somebody is an extrovert, somebody is shy, somebody likes Coke, somebody likes coffee. Personality traits, again, not in your control. So, however, despite all this, we still possess the freedom to choose. What can we choose? Choose our responses to these circumstances. So freedom, therefore, let's understand, is not the absence of limitations. There is no such thing called as absolute freedom. There is no such thing called as absolute freedom. Freedom will always have limitations. However, it lies in our ability that how can we act? How can we respond within these limitations? How can we exercise our freedom within these limitations? Philosophically, ये idea challenge करता है जो already pre-established views हैं कि हमारी जिंदगी, हमारी life is being defined by external forces or past experiences. सार्त्रे ये कहते हैं कि डिस्पाइट इतने सारे constraints, we are condemned to be free, meaning that we are, at the end of the day, you are responsible that how are you navigating your lives within the given conditions. Now, if you are navigating your lives by consuming drugs or by consuming alcohol or by playing some poker game which is involving a lot of your money, so it is your call, it is your choices. Ultimately, what consequences you will face would be because of the choices you have made. So therefore, freedom is a state of mind which is manifesting in our interpretations and actions rather than an idealized absence of limitations. So once again, Sartre is trying to say that there is no such thing called as complete freedom, and there is no such thing called as freedom without any limitations. You will have limitations. Now, our choices is defining us, और therefore जब हम freedom की बात करते हैं तो freedom को निभाने के लिए, freedom पे act upon करने के लिए, we need to have a lot of courage so that we can take each and every task with full responsibility. Now, no matter whether you are sitting in a difficult situation or an easy situation, you will have to act using your freedom with a lot of responsibility. Think about it as a bureaucrat. What all things come in your mind? Now, the idea resonates very deeply within the human experience, जहाँ पे circumstances जो कि हमेशा हमारे control में नहीं होती हैं. So this defines the initial framework of our lives. social structures, historical context, economic class, personal hardships. तो ये कुछ ऐसी forces हैं जो कि आपकी conditions को shape करती हैं. Classic example, UPSC का पेपर है, CA का पेपर है, किसी IBPS का पेपर है, कितने सारे पेपर्स होते हैं. नाउ अब हो सकता है कि आपके पास वो फ्रीडम नहीं है कि आप यूपीएससी की या बैंकिंग की या सीए की तैयारी कर सकें, बिकॉज आपके लाइफ में कोई और पर्सनल हार्डशिप चल रही है. Could be in the form of financial hardship, could be in the form of health, could be in the form of any emotional hardship, anything. Which means that you are 21 years of age, you are 22 years of age, so you're eligible to sit for any competitive examination. But, however, your circumstances are not making you free to sit for these examinations. So therefore, Sartre is asserting that true freedom lies in the choices which we are making within the framework of our personal hardships, social structures, historical context, etc. Let's say that you are a 22-year-old boy or girl watching this video and you have the luxury to sit at home and prepare for UPSC and not do any job. But maybe somebody else, maybe one of you watching this video is also wanting to prepare for UPSC, but you have to support your family, you have to support yourself, and you have to go out and work, and you cannot sit at home and study full time. So therefore, both the individuals who are watching this video, they will have their own sense of social structure, they will have their own historical background, and they will have their own difficult and different circumstances. Now, we are living in a world of uncertainties and limitations. So therefore, this perspective is underscoring the potential for showcasing resilience, दृढ़ निश्चय, adaptability, self-determination, suggesting कि individuals, you, me, we both, we are responsible for our paths, regardless कि हमने वो path शुरू कहाँ पे किया था और खत्म कहाँ पे हो रहा है. Now, you have the freedom, let's say आपने point A से point B जाना था. But you also have the freedom of starting from point A and going to point C. You also have the freedom of starting from point A and going to point D. Now, ultimately, you had thought when you started from point A that you will end up at point B. But you ended up at point C and ended up at point D. That is the choice you made. That is the choice you made. Now, whether going at this direction or this direction was right or not, that time will tell. But within the circumstances of you traveling from A to B, you had the freedom. You had the freedom to divert your direction. So ultimately, you chose your path. So therefore, that was your freedom. But what consequences did that result into? This is something which you will only get to know by the end of the journey. Now, let us understand this hardcore philosophical jargon or jargon with examples. हेलन केलर की बात करते हैं. हेलन केलर, हम इनको काफी पढ़ते हैं हिस्ट्री में, कंटेम्प्रेरी टाइम्स में इनको हम काफी पढ़ते हैं. ब्लाइंड थे, डेफ थे, यंग एज से. इनके ऊपर मूवी भी बनी थी, जो ब्लैक मूवी बनी थी, जिसमें आज से 20 साल पुरानी बात, अमिताभ बच्चन थे और रानी मुखर्जी थे. तो शी वॉज ब्लाइंड एंड डेफ फ्रॉम अ वेरी यंग एज. एंड well, because she was disabled, she could have lived a life of isolation because of her limitations. But did she let her limitations come in front of her? No. With the help of her teacher, Anne Sullivan, Helen Keller, she embraced education and became a very powerful voice for people suffering from disability, that they could end up completing their education. So she went on to become a very high-profile author. She advocated for social reform, and she was a living example that how is freedom a demonstration and manifestation of something which is about choosing a purpose which is beyond one's limitations. Now, constraints, Helen Keller के constraints थे. She had constraints. What was the constraints she had? Was the physical disability. But did she let that come? Did she let that come in her path? No, she did not. She chose a path which went beyond physical disabilities, and she used her personal challenges to uplift not only herself but others. Then also, example number 2, Frida Kahlo. Now, she is a celebrated Mexican artist. Now, she endured a lifetime physical pain because of polio, and she also had suffered a massive bus accident which left her, crumbled with lifelong injuries. Now, did she let her disabilities come in front of her? Did she let her disabilities define her? No. She channeled her suffering into her art. And therefore, she ended up creating a deeply personal and iconic works which is resonating with themes of identity, suffering and resilience. So, इनका जो आर्ट वर्क है, इनका जो क्रिएटिव वर्क है, that is a manifestation of whatever she was going through. So basically whatever pain and turmoil she was going through, उन्होंने वो manifest किया अपने artistic expression के जरिए. Again, a classic example that she did not put her freedom of being in pain into waste. She was in pain, she was suffering, but she also utilized that freedom by giving voice to her pain, to her experiences. Then third example is of Viktor Frankl. He was a psychiatrist and he was a Holocaust survivor, and he endured a lot of suffering in the Nazi concentration camps. And during the times when he was imprisoned, Frankl realized that he could not control his environment, that he was suffering atrocities. He was a Holocaust survivor, he was in a ghetto camp, but however he can control his response towards this torturous environment. So what did he do? He found meaning and he found purpose by helping other people, by helping other fellow prisoners. And later he developed his concept of logotherapy, which means that let me find purpose in suffering. Let me find a purpose in suffering, which is very, very important to live life. और विक्टर फ्रैंकल का जो resilience है, वो हाईलाइट करता है सार्त्रे का नोशन कि फ्रीडम हमारे रिस्पॉन्स में एग्जिस्ट करता है टू व्हाट लाइफ इंपोजेस. लाइफ विल थ्रो ऑल सॉर्ट ऑफ थिंग्स एट यू. हाउ आर यू रिस्पॉन्डिंग टू इट? दैट इज व्हाट इज मोर इंपॉर्टेंट. सो विच मीन्स ह्यूमन कैपेसिटी इज ह्यूमंगस. Human capacity to bear pain is humongous. However, it also depends upon how are we viewing that pain, how are we feeling that pain, and how are we responding, not reacting to that pain. So these historical figures, these three historical figures, they are demonstrating that every individual or any individual in their lifetime can face harsh and difficult times. However, they will have the freedom. Even if you're a prisoner, even if today we come and catch you and put you in the prison, even then you will have the freedom. Even then you will have the freedom to choose the response towards the 14, 15 or 20 years of jail imprisonment, which if at all is being awarded to you, God forbid not, but example के तौर पे. So इन तीनों व्यक्तियों की लाइफ, और ऐसे और बहुत सारे लोग हैं लेकिन एग्जाम्पल भी 3 लोगों की बात करी है, ये इन तीनों व्यक्तियों की लाइफ डेमोन्स्ट्रेट करती है कि कैसे ट्रांसफॉर्मेटिव चॉइसेस मेड इन रिस्पॉन्स टू डिफिकल्टीज, टू डिफिकल्ट टाइम्स कैन लीड टू contributions towards society and leaving behind a long lasting legacy. However, let us also understand some counter arguments. Freedom is what you do after what has been done to you. Let us understand some counter arguments. Now, counter arguments number 1, impact of climate change. Now, there are small island countries. There are many countries like Maldives, like Mauritius, Tuvalu, Vanuatu, Cook Islands. They are facing a lot of challenges because of, the rising sea levels, because of the impacts of climate change. So they have the freedom. They have the freedom to bring about certain policies which will help to mitigate these crises. They have the freedom to design such policies which can also help to reduce the carbon dioxide footprint in the atmosphere. But is their freedom to act? Is their freedom to act independent? No. Their freedom to act is also dependent upon the freedom of the bigger countries, the industrialized nations, because their freedom is also at the mercy of the bigger countries. Because if the bigger countries, whatever atmosphere they have polluted, whatever amount of greenhouse gas emissions they have generated, if they continue to do that, then the chances for small island countries to mitigate and prevent a catastrophic disaster will be very less. Then also let's take the example of supply chain dependencies. Now there are many countries, America, European Union, India. Now for, semiconductors and for EVs, there is a lot of reliance upon countries like South Korea and Taiwan. Why? Because more than 80% of semiconductor manufacturing takes place in Taiwan. But that is good thing. Everybody would want to have a semiconductor manufacturing with the East Asian countries, Japan, South Korea, Taiwan. However, COVID comes, Ukraine war comes, Gaza-Israel war comes. What to do? In times of disruptions, you will have supply chain disruptions as well. So therefore, Taiwan has all the freedom to manufacture semiconductors. America or India or China or European Union has all the freedom to import semiconductor items from Taiwan. But during times of disruptions, during times of global crisis, the dependency of the bigger countries toward Taiwan, that is in front of us. Because why? Because in times of global crisis, there is a massive disruption in the supply chain. The production capacity decreases, the export-import capacity decreases, so which means freedom is again constrained. Freedom is again constrained because of global dependencies. Let's also understand refugee crisis. Syria, Afghanistan, Sudan, Yemen, Israel, Gaza, millions and millions of people, they are in the last 10 years, in the last 1 decade, and they have been displaced, they have been forced to evacuate their houses, they have been killed, there have been massacres, there have been genocides. So refugees, they often end up finding themselves in camps or foreign countries जहां पे उनके rights restricted हैं, जहां पे उनकी opportunity to work या right to movement काफी restricted है. Because why? Because these refugees are at the mercy of the freedoms guaranteed by the host country. Now, some individuals, they will end up showing resilience and determination. However, there still will be barriers. There still will be barriers that, until, you don't complete certain formalities or don't apply for the citizenship, etc., you will not be entitled to certain benefits, which only an American or a German or a French citizen is entitled to. So again, this example highlights that in situations of extreme crisis, again, not in our hands, in situations of external conditions, during times of refugee crisis, extreme crisis, this is all something external. But at the end of the day, this will end up limiting your personal freedom. So therefore, within your country, you will not have the freedom to live in your own house, जो कि आपने बनाया था. You would have to evacuate your house, you would have to leave your house, you would have to run for your life or your family's life to some other country, जहाँ पे again आपको freedom guaranteed नहीं है कि वहाँ पे आते सारी आपको red carpet में कोई नौकरी मिलने वाली है. आई होप आपको ये वीडियो आज का अच्छा लगा हो, क्योंकि हमने कुछ ऐसे एग्जाम्पल्स, कुछ ऐसी बातें डिस्कस करी हैं लिटिल आउट ऑफ द बॉक्स, जो कि ऑलरेडी आप जीएस में पढ़ चुके हैं. मेरा काम क्या है? मेरा काम है एप्लीकेशन का, कि कैसे उसको अप्लाई करना है ऐसे के टॉपिक्स के साथ. And then again, AI displacing jobs, artificial intelligence displacing jobs. AI is there. Well, AI is a reality. We all might be fond of AI. You might be hating AI, ChatGPT, Google Bard. But however, AI is also leading to massive jobs displacement. Now, some people will reskill themselves. There are workshops happening, how to use ChatGPT, how to use Google Bard. However, other people, they will still face a lot of barriers because of age. The older generation, they will not be willing to reskill themselves that, okay, jo kiya kar liya, koi baat nahi, kuch aur kar lenge. Then there will be limited access to training. Not everybody would have the training to utilize AI and still, retain the job. So again, you have the freedom. You have the freedom to use technology, but also that technology is putting constraints upon you. So, dosto, essay only content course for those people appearing for UPSC CSE 2025 only at ₹4,500. 50% less कर दिया है हमने. जो cost था, जो नीव फाउंडेशन कोर्स था, that is for 9,000. Of course, उसमें बहुत सारे और elaborative features हैं, लेकिन essay only content course 4,500 का हमने कर दिया है, जिसमें आपको वीडियो लेक्चर्स और PDFs मिलेंगी essay की. इसमें आपको दो लाइव डाउट सेशंस मिलेंगे 1 महीने में. मेंटरशिप कॉल की फैसिलिटी भी है, टेलीग्राम मेंटरशिप भी है, लेकिन इस पर्टिकुलर कोर्स में आपको FLTs और HLTs का एक्सेस नहीं है. वो बड़े कोर्स में है जो कि 9,000 का है. सो दोस्तों, अगर आपको ठीक लगे, आपको पढ़ाने का तरीका अच्छा लगे, कमेंट सेक्शन में बताइएगा, लाइक करिएगा, वीडियो को ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा शेयर करिएगा और टोल फ्री नंबर पे कॉल करके और इन्फॉर्मेशन भी लीजिएगा. आई विल सी यू वेरी सून. थैंक यू.